Does alcohol cause depression or anxiety? If you're wondering, it's about to get real in this episode because I'm going to share my experiences on this. And it was one of the big reasons why I quit drinking and I remain sober. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Jamie Dottie Garza, and it's time to ignite your sobriety. Again, this is all true stories, genuine stories that I personally went through, just like every other piece of content on this channel, on my journey to getting sober for the past 15 years and being sober for almost 645 days. I believe so. And I want to talk about this subject because it's been in my comments. I've seen a lot of others in this community talk about depression, anxiety, feeling less than, and I want to be a vessel. I've even had some trolls in the comments poke fun of me making this type of content. First of all, this type of content is to serve anyone who may have been in despair or in a similar place that I was. I'm using this content, I'm a vessel from God to share my stories and my testimonies to hopefully help one, reach one, teach one. That's it. And I engaged with all comments, by the way. I was engaging in this particular one, and I brought up the fact that I needed to quit alcohol because if I didn't, my life would have been ended already. And I'm a firm believer in that, not only in my thoughts of living reckless, like just drinking and not giving a care in the world, but also I've had some deep, dark thoughts of ending my life. And I want to shine light on the effects of the alcohol intensifying that, but also when I was initially quitting and releasing and getting off alcohol, how those thoughts got even more intense. As I reflect back on my life at 34 years old, and I look back at like my 20s, my early 20s, my mid 20s, and even some of my cusp of early 30s, I realized that alcohol was a band-aid for me. I was using alcohol to put a band-aid over an existing problem that I already had. Now, it wasn't prescribed to me or it wasn't diagnosed that, hey, you have anxiety. Hey, you have mental health issues. You have this, because that didn't become acknowledged until I say these past 5 years, especially in the society we live in now, which I love that is being acknowledged. I was simply trying to get through my thoughts and day-to-days and thought nothing of it. Thought it was a norm. I remember, I think I was about 18 years old maybe. It had to be like 2007, so I just graduated. Yeah, it had to be '08. And I remember I was dating my high school sweetheart. And, she was in college. I was still out here local trying to figure it out. And I remember she came back one summer and she wanted to call it off. And I didn't know how to take it. I was hurt. I was very hurt. But here's the kicker. I remember at my job, I was working for a call center in town. And shout out to PDS. If Stafford, if you know, you know. And I remember I had buddies who would buy me alcohol. I loved Hennessy. And shout out to the homies who held me down. I would give them a good tip too. And I remember one day I dropped my girlfriend off at the time, and we had a serious discussion in the car. And in that discussion, she said she was ready to call it off. And I felt like my world just got crumbled. I love this girl, right? And I remember guzzling that whole pint of Hennessy. Well, I'm in the car, y'all. We parked. And I just said, screw it. She left. And I remember, if it wasn't for my friend at the time, shout out to my boy Alf. I remember calling him and I was crying. I was going outside, y'all. The boy was looking weak. He heard how inebriated I was. And he was such a pal that he lived pretty close in my neighborhood. He didn't have a car at the time. He literally walked to my house, got my mom, and my stepdad saved the day. He came to pick me up. Because if he didn't, I would not be here, y'all. At the time, I'm 18 or 19. I'm driving home. It was a good 6 miles, maybe 10 miles, I would not have made it the way I was. And that was through the grace of God, and He's been protecting me since. So I just want to paint the narrative of like how alcohol was a crutch for me. Now I look back at that moment, I should have been more of an adult like I am now. Understand the situation at hand, analyze it, and not needing any substance to put a band-aid on. I share that story for two things: to keep it real like I always do on this channel, but also of what kind of stemmed. So we put a first band-aid on that. That's at 18 and 19. We're talking year after year. What else am I putting a band-aid on? When does it become a topic, or when does it become mindful? Like, hey, are you really partying out there with friends? Are you really just enjoying your time? Or are you using this as a band-aid to keep masking? And that was one situation. I'm not talking about the trauma and stuff I had as a child, okay, of always wanting my daddy around. I'm not talking about the things of the trauma I developed as I kept growing older and, more responsibilities and where I wanted my life. There's band-aids on everything. Let's understand alcohol, first of all, because alcohol is a depressant. Alcohol is a central nervous depressant, and it affects our central nervous system, can ultimately affect our brain. And when it affects our brain, guess what happens? It affects our mood, our behavior, and our cognitive senses. All those three things were affected in that story I just shared now. Yes, the temporary effects was I was numbing the pain. One of my favorite songs I remember on Mobb Deep's album was Drake Away the Pain. And that's essentially what I was doing. I numbed the pain for right there in that moment. But guess what? When I woke up, I can't drink alcohol all day, or so I thought. Can't drink it every day, or so I thought. And the older I got, I was just using it as a depressant to mask all these feelings. What I realized as I was going out more often and finding new ways to get over that breakup and just trying to find me again, is that the alcohol I was drinking was giving me a lot of euphoria. I was getting a lot of dopamine hits. I was feeling superior. I was feeling confident. I was feeling all these things, and I rooted to alcohol as being like, yeah, this is great. In reality, I started to see things crumble into my late 30s, going to my late 20s into my early 30s, because what it was doing, it was building up a catalyst almost of instability, anxiety, and depression. Me and my wife were talking yesterday. We had a great conversation, and we were just reminiscing and just like piecing together things. And one thing she shared with me that I did not know she was like, when you first quit alcohol, I used to have a box full of just Hennessy bottles that I done demolished. She said during that time when I was trying to get sober and I quit, she said I was the most grumpiest, I was the most harsh, just a-hole. And I had no requisite of that in my mind because I honestly don't remember. I don't remember what it was like. I wasn't thinking about others, and I was just focused on one thing, just trying to stay sober and get off alcohol and wean off of it. And it was tough. In summary, to go back to the topic of this, does alcohol cause depression and anxiety? I believe so. Especially if you're someone like me who already has some mental health things going on in my mind. And I learn this more each and every time I grow and develop and continue to build a relationship with my father, and just rooting like the causes of what makes a switch and this and that. Because on my mom's family, everyone just gets through it, and now I have to learn my whole different roots from my father's side of the family and realize like, whoa, it's in me. So it's a lot of reverse engineering going on. For someone like me, I feel like if you have issues you're burying already and you're using alcohol, especially at a young age I was, and trying to mask it, eventually over time it's going to get too much. And eventually over time it can lead to very detrimental circumstances. I'm just very blessed and grateful that I got the acknowledgments, I got the signs before it was too late. Because on the path I was going, it was definitely too late. Something was bound to happen. And as I started to build a family, had kids, more responsibility, being a leader, being a husband, all these different things, I'm like, why would I ever go back to alcohol? How could I? I need to be here each and every day. I know we live in a world where anything can happen any day, but if I make measures to give a better probability that I might wake up the next day, I'm all in. And that's what I'm on. So if you're someone out there who is using alcohol to mask or to drink away the pain, it might feel good in the beginning. It might feel good the first few times. But if you're someone like me, you're going to get addicted to that feeling, right? And you're going to want to chase it each and every time. You want to hit that euphoria. You want to hit that, that life is great phase. The more you do that, the more years you add. And especially when you initially start to quit, it is going to be absolutely harsh going through the processes. So just want to keep it real with you guys and share a real life experience with you guys. Shout out to the comments for inspiring this video. And shout out to you guys for continuing to build this community of Ignite Your Sobriety. I read all your comments. If you enjoyed this video or you have a takeaway or you can relate to me in any type of way, drop in the comment below. If you guys like this video, smash that like button, hit the red button, considering to subscribe so you can stay in tune and never miss a video on this channel. Again, I'm so grateful for you guys. Wherever you are in your sobriety, whether it's day one, whether you're sober curious and thinking about starting, whether you're someone like me who's embarking on almost 2 years, salute to you. The hardest decision is making the decision. The second step is actually walking it. Ignite your sobriety.